All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back. You ready to jump into another deep dive?
Always ready.
So today we're looking at something pretty wild, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Bumuntu. Have you heard of this before?
I have, yeah. It's Bumuntu, right?
Yeah, that's right. And we're going to be looking at some excerpts from Ubuntu, une technologie du savoir, magneso2.pdf. Kind of a mouthful.
Yeah.
But the concept is really interesting, so we're going to take a deep dive into that today.
Sounds good.
And basically, Ubuntu suggests that we're not alone in the universe. And it also presents like a whole path to higher consciousness.
Yeah, who wouldn't want that?
Exactly. So that's what we're going to be looking at today.
All right, well, the source describes Ubuntu as, get this, a technology of knowing being.
Okay, so hold on. Technology of knowing being.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
Well, it goes beyond just, like basic ethics and stuff.
Yeah.
It actually gives techniques for conscious evolution.
So is it kind of like, I don't know, is it like meditation or something? Like what kind of
Yeah, I mean,
techniques are we talking about?
it sounds like it encompasses a whole range of different practices.
Yeah.
This source actually links Bumuntu to the Kongo-Diantangi.
The what?
Kongo-Diantangi. And they are, get this, beatings from another dimension.
Whoa, okay, hold on.
Yeah.
So you're saying that like these beings from another dimension, they shared their wisdom with humanity
That's what the source is saying.
through this Bumuntu thing.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, like, could ancient traditions actually be tapping into something that, like, we're just starting to understand now?
Okay, so we're not just talking about like self-improvement here.
No.
We're talking about like knowledge from beings from another dimension.
Potentially.
That's a whole other level.
Yeah.
So if it's so powerful, I mean, why haven't we heard about this before?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. Bumuntu really stresses balance and harmony,
Okay.
which, kind of echoes the ancient Egyptian idea of Mahat.
Oh, yeah.
Have you heard of that?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, Mahat.
Right.
But so are you saying that there are like these hidden connections between all these ancient systems?
Potentially, yeah.
Like, could there be this like universal truth that, that's been like woven through all these different cultures throughout history?
That's what we need to look into.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, both Bumuntu and Mahat, they both try to address those, those big questions that we all have.
Like what?
Like our purpose on Earth, what's out there beyond.
Right, the big stuff. Yeah.
The meaning of life, all that.
So is Bumuntu like a roadmap or something? Like, does it give us the tools to figure all that stuff out?
It seems like it's kind of both.
Okay.
It's not just about, like, knowing things. It's about, like, being,
Okay.
being in a certain way.
All right, so I'm starting to see, I think, the bigger picture here.
Yeah.
It's not just like, reading a book and going, oh, that's cool, and then,
Yeah.
forgetting about it. It's about embodying these principles,
Yeah.
like actually working towards a higher level of consciousness.
That's what it sounds like.
But how do we do that? What does that even look like?
Well, that is the question.
Yeah. Like, how do we actually live Bumuntu in our daily lives?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right.
And this source, it doesn't really give us a step-by-step guide or anything,
Oh, bummer.
but it does stress, the whole balance, justice, and harmony thing.
Oh, okay. Right. Like Mott.
Yeah, exactly, like
Okay.
Mott. So maybe, by really trying to understand those principles,
Yeah.
we could start to, like, integrate those into our lives.
So if we start living with, more justice, balance, and harmony, that's like our first step.
Might be.
Almost like, like a cosmic experiment, seeing how those ancient principles play out in the world today.
That's a great way to think about it.
I'm in.
Yeah,
What about you?
I like it.
Yeah.
I mean, just imagine, like, what if those values were, really at the forefront of everything we did?
Yeah.
Like, if they shaped our decisions and how we interact with each other and the planet.
That's a pretty big shift, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, everywhere we look, it's all about, me,
It is.
competition,
Yeah.
individualism. How do we, like, square that with this whole Bumuntu thing about, harmony and being interconnected?
Well, maybe that's the challenge, right?
Yeah.
To find a way to bridge that gap between, where we are and where we want to be.
So instead of seeing ourselves as like, these separate little islers all competing with each other,
Yeah.
it's more like we're all these threads in a bigger tapestry.
I like that.
Each thread is unique, but we're all like connected and we're all part of this this bigger picture.
Beautiful.
But how do we make that shift? I mean, that's a pretty big shift in thinking.
It is.
Does Bumuntu give us any practical advice on that?
Well, that's where this whole technology of knowing being thing comes in.
Right.
Remember, it's like, it's not just knowledge, it's like techniques and practices, maybe even rituals.
Okay, so we have these core principles:
Uh-huh.
balance, justice, and harmony. And we've got this technology of knowing being.
Yeah,
It's like we've got the ingredients, but we don't know the recipe yet.
exactly. And that's the exciting part. We're on a journey of discovery here.
Yeah, okay. Honestly, I was kind of drawn to this whole Ubuntu thing because of
The aliens?
the aliens, yeah. But now I'm actually even more intrigued by like the practical stuff.
Yeah.
It's like Ubuntu's giving us a chance to not just like understand the universe, intellectually,
Mm-hmm.
but to actually like participate in it.
And to change it.
Yeah. It's like we're being given the keys to the cosmic control panel
Wow.
and someone's saying, "Here, you have a role to play." I like that.
I like it too.
It's pretty exciting. But I think before we get too carried away,
Yeah.
let's take a closer look at this whole technology of knowing being business. What kind of clues does the source give us about these techniques and how they work?
Okay, well, that's a great question.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to dive into next. The source actually mentions, specific practices and what kind of impact they have on consciousness. It's going to get really interesting.
All right, buckle up, everybody.
So, this source, it mentions some pretty interesting practices that are linked to Bumuntu.
Yeah. It's like what?
Well, it talks about things like, rhythmic movements and chanting.
Wait, hold on. Rhythmic movements and chanting.
Yeah.
Are we talking about some like ancient dance or something?
Well, it's a fascinating idea, right? I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
Like, the source suggests that these practices, they're not just symbolic,
Oh,
They're actually tools to, like, alter your consciousness,
okay.
to tap into this deeper level of, knowing and being.
All right, this is where I start to get a little sci-fi in my brain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, are you saying that these rituals could actually change our brain waves?
Well, I mean, the source doesn't really get into, the scientific specifics,
Right.
but there's a lot of research now on, like, meditation,
Yeah.
mindfulness,
Yeah.
and those studies show that certain techniques can actually alter brain activity
Yeah.
and induce, like, altered states of consciousness.
That's pretty cool.
Right. So maybe these ancient practices, they were tapping into, like, similar mechanisms,
Uh-huh.
just with a different cultural framework,
So maybe ancient cultures had a more, I don't know, a more intuitive understanding of how like the mind and body and the universe all connect.
Maybe.
Like they were hacking into the system before we even knew there was a system to hack into.
I like that. Yeah, it definitely challenges our assumptions
Mhm.
about what we consider to be advanced knowledge, right?
Right. Exactly.
Maybe we've actually lost touch with some of this ancient wisdom as we've become more technologically advanced.
It's like we traded in our cosmic Wi-Fi password for like a smartphone,
Right.
and now we can't like reconnect.
Can't get back online.
Yeah, exactly. So if these practices are so powerful, I mean, why aren't they like everywhere?
Yeah, that's a good question. Remember, the source links Bumuntu to the Congo Diantangi.
A what?
Congo Diantangi, the interdimensional beings.
Right, the aliens.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
So maybe this knowledge was, kept secret,
Okay.
passed down through, like, specific lineages or hidden within certain cultural practices.
So it's like a lost treasure just waiting to be rediscovered.
Maybe so.
Okay, I am starting to see why you called this deep dive mind-blowing.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah. But okay, let's get back to those practices for a second.
Okay.
What kind of impact did they supposedly have on the people who practiced them? Like, did they achieve, I don't know, superpowers or enlightenment or something?
Well, the source doesn't exactly say anything about superpowers,
Oh, bummer.
but it does, it really stresses how transformative these practices can be.
Okay.
It suggests that, like, consistent practice, it can lead to, heightened awareness,
Mm-hmm.
increased empathy,
Okay.
and a deeper connection to the cosmos.
Okay, so maybe not flying or telekinesis, but still pretty impressive.
Right.
Like heightened awareness, empathy.
Yeah.
Those are qualities that we could all use a little more of these days, right? It makes you wonder, like, could we take some of these practices and kind of integrate them into our lives today?
That's a really interesting idea.
Yeah.
What if we, like, stripped away the cultural trappings
Mm-hmm.
and we're just left with these core techniques?
Yeah.
Could they offer valuable tools for, personal
Yeah.
growth and
Yeah.
maybe even social change?
It's like we're standing at this crossroads, right? We're looking back at all this ancient wisdom, and we're facing all these challenges of the modern world.
Right.
Could Bumuntu be the bridge between those two?
It's definitely possible.
All right, I like where this is going.
Yeah, and if we embrace this whole idea of co-creation, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we can actually use these ancient tools to shape a future that's more in line with those principles of, balance and justice and harmony.
I love that idea. Like, instead of just hoping for a better future, we become like active participants in creating it.
Exactly.
We're drawing on the wisdom of the past to guide us in the present.
That's beautiful.
But there's one thing that I'm kind of stuck on here.
What's that?
If Bumuntu is all about, harmony and interconnectedness, what about the people who don't buy into that?
That's a good point.
Like, does it allow for different viewpoints?
Well, the source doesn't explicitly address that.
Okay.
But, if we look at the core principles,
Yeah.
the balance, the justice, the harmony,
Right.
those are concepts that are, they're often interpreted in different ways
Right.
by different cultures and individuals.
So maybe it's not about like imposing this rigid set of beliefs,
Right.
but it's more about like using those principles as a framework to, to have respectful dialogue and find common ground.
Exactly. Maybe Ubuntu's greatest strength is that it can actually help us, understand each other better.
Yeah.
Even when we have different perspectives.
Yeah.
It encourages us to really listen to try to see the connections between us.
Right.
And to, recognize the inherent value of every being.
That's really beautiful. It's like Bumuntu's whispering to us,
What's it saying?
Hey, we might not agree on everything, but we're all in this cosmic dance together. So let's find a way to move in harmony.
I love that.
Me too. It's really nice.
And it brings us back to, the heart of this whole deep dive.
Yeah.
The technology of knowing being. It's not just about accumulating knowledge.
Yeah.
It's about cultivating a way of being in the world that's grounded in awareness,
Okay.
empathy,
Yeah.
and a deep respect for all life.
Okay. Yeah, I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got the core principles, the balance, the justice, the harmony. We've got these really interesting practices that can alter consciousness.
Right.
And this overall goal of achieving this higher level of knowing being.
Yeah. It's a pretty incredible system.
It is. It really is. But I'm curious, does the source give any specific examples of how these practices have been used, throughout history?
Yeah, actually it does.
Do we have any real world examples of Bumuntu in action?
We do. The source talks about how these principles were used in things like conflict resolution.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Community building, and even environmental stewardship.
So it's not just about personal enlightenment. It's about actually using these principles to solve real world problems.
Exactly. It's like Ubuntu provides this blueprint for a more just and sustainable world.
Okay, I am definitely eager to hear more about these historical examples.
Yeah.
Yeah. What kind of impact did these practices have on the communities that embraced them?
Well, that's where things get really fascinating.
Okay.
The source describes specific instances where Ubuntu principles were used to, resolve conflicts peacefully.
Okay.
To encourage collaboration between different groups and to promote ecological balance.
So they weren't just talking the talk, they were walking the walk.
They were walking the walk.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it seems like these practices actually had a tangible impact on the well-being of both individuals and communities.
Okay, so this is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we're looking through a window into a different way of life.
Right.
A way of being in the world that's more harmonious, more interconnected.
Yeah.
But if these practices were so effective, I mean, why didn't they spread further?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's a complex one, for sure.
Okay.
The source suggests that, things like colonialism, the rise of individualism,
right,
and the growing dominance of materialistic worldviews,
okay,
all contributed to, the decline of these practices.
So it's like we lost sight of this ancient wisdom as we became more focused on external achievements and material possessions.
Possibly.
Kind of a bummer.
Yeah, but, maybe it's not too late to, rediscover this lost wisdom.
Okay.
And find ways to adapt it to, our modern context.
That's a hopeful thought.
Yeah.
It's like we're being given a second chance
Right.
to tap into this powerful source of knowledge and use it to create a better future.
I love that.
But okay, before we get ahead of ourselves,
Yep.
let's dive a little deeper into those historical examples. What specific stories or anecdotes does this source give us to illustrate how Ubuntu was used in practical ways?
Well, one really fascinating example involves a community that was facing a severe drought.
Oh, wow.
And instead of, fighting over the dwindling resources,
Right.
they actually used Ubuntu principles to encourage cooperation and sharing.
That's amazing. Like they were able to put aside their own self-interest and prioritize the well-being of the whole community.
Exactly.
But how did they actually do that? Like what specific actions did they take?
Well, the source explains that they used, specific rituals and practices to foster a sense of unity and shared purpose. They made decisions together as a community. Made sure everyone had a voice.
Yeah.
And they came up with strategies to conserve resources.
Right.
And support those who were, most in need.
It's like they were living out those principles of balance, justice, and harmony in a really tangible way.
They were.
This isn't just some abstract philosophy.
Yeah.
It's a lived experience, a way of life that can actually transform communities.
Powerful stuff.
Yeah. But did it actually work?
Yeah.
Did they actually make it through the drought?
According to the source, they did.
Wow.
They not only survived,
Yeah.
but they came out of it with an even stronger sense of community.
Okay.
And a deeper understanding of their interconnectedness.
That's incredible. It's like they discovered this hidden wellspring of resilience and wisdom within themselves and their community.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, could we tap into that same wellspring today
Maybe so.
to face the challenges that we're all dealing with as a global society?
The powerful thought, right? And it brings us to this crucial question. How do we translate these ancient principles and practices into a language that makes sense for the modern world?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
We've been, talking about all these fascinating concepts, but how do we bridge the gap between this ancient wisdom and our lives today?
That's what we're going to explore next.
Okay.
The source, it offers some really interesting hints about how Ubuntu can be adapted to our modern context.
Okay.
And it points us towards new pathways for both, personal and collective transformation.
Okay, so, wow. My mind is reeling from all this. We've dug up this ancient wisdom.
Yeah.
We've looked at all these practices, and we've even seen how it's been used in the real world.
Right.
But how do we bring it all home? How do we actually make Ubuntu, relevant to our lives today?
Well, the source suggests that adapting Ubuntu, to our modern world, it takes a bit of creativity and a willingness to experiment.
Okay, so it's not about just copying what they did back in the day.
No, not exactly.
It's about understanding the big ideas and finding ways to express those ideas in a way that makes sense for us now.
Right.
So it's taking the ancient blueprints and building something new.
Yeah, but
something that works for the challenges that we're facing.
Exactly.
I'm all for innovation, but where do we even begin?
Well, the source actually highlights the importance of finding modern-day equivalents for those ancient practices.
Oh, okay. Like what?
Well, for instance, instead of, rhythmic movements and chanting,
right,
we might, explore things like yoga, mindfulness meditation, or even certain types of art or music that help us to feel more, connected and in harmony.
So it's not about the specific form, it's about the intention behind it.
Exactly. It's about cultivating those qualities of, balance, justice, harmony within ourselves and in our communities.
So how do we create that sense of community in a world where everyone's so disconnected?
That's a great question. And the source really emphasizes the importance of community.
Yeah.
Ubuntu, it's not just a solo mission.
Right.
It's about connecting with others.
Okay.
And taking action together.
So are we talking about forming new groups or?
Well, it's probably a mix of both.
Okay.
The source suggests that we should Like, look for places where people are already working towards positive change.
Okay.
Whether it's, social justice or environmental activism or even, creative expression.
Right.
It's about finding those common threads, those shared goals that bring us together.
So it's not about creating some, like, exclusive Bumuntu club.
Right.
It's about finding ways to, like, integrate these principles into, the world around us.
Exactly.
That makes a lot more sense.
And it's much more in line with, Bumuntu's emphasis on balance and interconnectedness.
Right, right. Because, we're all part of this big cosmic tapestry.
We are.
And every thread, every little action that we take, it contributes to the overall pattern.
Beautiful.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it. Like, even small acts of kindness and compassion,
Yeah.
they can actually make a difference.
They can create ripples.
Yeah, they can. And those ripples can spread outwards and affect, our families and our communities, and eventually the whole world.
I love that.
This is all starting to feel very, very hopeful.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we've been given this toolkit for positive change, and we can use it to, to build a better future.
Powerful stuff.
But, okay, I have to ask, what about the skeptics out there?
Yeah, the doubters.
Yeah, the people who are like, Bumuntu, that's just another, like, New Age fad.
Right. Well, the source doesn't really have a simple answer for that.
Okay. Yeah.
But it does stress, the importance of authenticity and personal experience.
So it's not about trying to, like, convince everybody to follow Bumuntu. It's more about, like, inviting them to explore it for themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Bumuntu, it's not a belief system that you have to, like, subscribe to.
Okay.
It's an invitation to a journey of self-discovery.
Okay.
It's about, asking questions and challenging your own assumptions.
Yeah.
And being open to new possibilities.
And that journey can lead to some pretty incredible transformations, right?
It can.
Yeah, 'cause we've seen how Bumuntu principles can be used to, like, resolve conflicts, build stronger communities.
Yeah.
And even protect the environment.
It's amazing.
It's like we're rediscovering this lost language for creating a more just and sustainable world.
Love that.
This has been a truly, like, mind-blowing deep dive.
Yeah.
Yeah, we started with this idea of, not being alone in the universe, and we've somehow ended up with this, like, roadmap for creating a more harmonious world.
It's amazing how those ideas are all interconnected.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, okay.
So as we wrap up here, what's, like, the one big takeaway you want our listener to remember?
Well, if I had to pick just one, it would be this. Bumuntu is a reminder of who we truly are.
Okay.
It's a reminder that we are not just, isolated individuals, but that we are interconnected beings with the power to create a more beautiful and just world.
That's a beautiful thought.
It is.
And as our listener, continues to explore Bumuntu, what's one question they should keep in mind?
How can I bring those principles of balance, justice, and harmony into my own life? How can I become a conscious co-creator of a world that reflects those values?
Those are really powerful questions.
They are.
And I have a feeling they're going to lead to some pretty amazing discoveries.
Me too.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today.
It's been a pleasure.
This has been a truly incredible journey.
It has. And remember, the journey doesn't stop here,
It doesn't. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep reaching for that higher consciousness within you.
That's great advice. And to our listener, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into Bumuntu.
Yes, thank you.
We hope it's sparked your curiosity and inspired you to, start your own exploration.
Keep learning.
Yeah, keep learning and keep shining your light brightly in this amazing cosmic dance that we call life.
Beautifully said.
Until next time, everybody.